Howdy gang, this is the Roaming Prepper channel. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Pete, I'm your host, and today we're going to talk about a more technical aspect of prepping. I believe the first person I saw post it, not necessarily the first prepper or YouTuber who saw it, was Hudson Valley, Prepping and Survival Mike. He saw it, and then Jason the Angry Prepper posted, and I don't know who saw it first. They probably saw it about the same time. And then Catskill, New York also posted it. And what it is, it was a video New York City's emergency management released about the possibilities and the potentialities of a nuclear or atomic incident, a radiological incident in the city. And it was giving some basic guidelines for folks. And it freaked everyone out because it popped out of nowhere and there was no context, right? And so we've been getting a lot of comments. I was actually watching Angry Prepper's video, his second video on the topic, and we were starting to get questions. So I figured I'd come and give some feedback as to what the different scenarios are and what you can do and what your game plan is, right? You know my style. I'm going to try and leave you with some kind of plan of action or some kind of direction you can go with. So I'll be right back and we're going to talk more about it. All right, welcome back everyone. So let's talk radiological. So there are two types of devices. Now there are other types, but we're going to keep it simple. Two potential danger devices for, say, New York City, Houston, Dallas, LA, whatever. You have a atomic weapon, a thermonuclear or nuclear bomb, and you have a radiological device, aka a dirty bomb. They are not the same. They're nowhere near the same. And I would react very differently between one and the other. Now, you're probably wondering, well, how do I know this? Well, as those of you who follow me know, I am a degreed engineer. I actually, in the course of my career, was a NRC licensed radiation handler, and I was an explosives blasters license holder. So I've dealt with the explosives up close, like in my hands, and radioactive devices on the little holding thing. So I've dealt with both. And also got some other experiences courtesy of our government that I can't really go into, but you guys kind of get what I'm saying. So what are we looking at? So the way we're going to talk about the nuclear bomb first, or the atomic bomb, right? Very different from a dirty bomb. So an atomic bomb is a thermonuclear or nuclear reaction. It is fission or fusion depending on the design of the bomb and the material used. A very generic way to say it is that is the bomb that will make a mushroom cloud, that will flatten blocks of the city, if not a whole city. It'll burn stuff, people become dust, you know, things you see on TV. How does that work? Well, very simple. Okay, both use a radioactive device, right? They use a radioactive isotope. Now, for an atomic weapon, a nuclear bomb, atomic bomb, however you want to call them, they're very specific radioactive isotopes you have to use. Plutonium, uranium, there are a few others, but we'll keep it simple. So like uranium-238. Let's just say you have a particle of it or a mass of it, you know, like a pound, and it's just there. This occurs naturally in nature. Nature doesn't blow up. Why? Because you need two things to create an atomic blast. You need enough of the material to create a chain reaction big enough to create a bomb, and you need density. And when I say density, the particles have to be close enough together. So if you have a pound of uranium, but the particles are all spread out like this, they're all giving out radiation, right? And they naturally give out gammas and whatnot, but they're far enough apart to where the gammas coming from this particle, when it hits this one, doesn't have enough energy to do anything to it. It just, you know, it hits it and it bounces off. And I'm being very generic about it, so those of you who are radiation physicists, don't beat me up too much on this. But as the particles get closer, the gamma rays, as they emit from each particle, have more energy closer, and they lose energy as they go out. So as you get close enough to where the energy from particle 1 hits particle 2, 3, 4, and 5, and it hits it with enough force to knock extra gamma rays out of that one, which then emits more gamma rays and knocks it into other, until they keep going and they start to destabilize, and ultimately you create a atomic blast, a nuclear explosion. So for instance, the Skinny Boy bomb, or Skinny Man, the one of the two that was used in Japan, the two bombs were different designs. People may not realize that. So the Skinny Boy had an amount of uranium, I believe they used uranium-238, uranium and uranium, but they were separated by a gap. And they were far enough apart to where they wouldn't interact and create a premature chain reaction, because you don't want to blow the plane up in midair, right? When it dropped, before it hit the ground, there was an explosive device behind this chunk of uranium that blasted it through a little tube into the other one. Now all of a sudden you had two things. You had enough of the particles to create a chain reaction, and you just smushed them together with enough force to where the particles started interacting, and it caused a chain reaction, blew up a city. The Fat Boy was different. The Fat Man or Fat Boy bomb was just one chunk of radioactive material. It was surrounded by shaped explosive charge. So it was there in the middle of the bomb. That's why the bomb was so fat and called the Fat Man. But it didn't have density. It had enough mass. There were enough uranium particles to create an atomic bomb, but they were not compressed together. They were far enough apart so the energy they were releasing was not creating chain reactions, because it was losing power when it hit the particle next to it. We're talking microns, like microscopic distances between these particles, right? I mean, they're atoms, right? But what this one did, when the bomb detonated, the explosives have to go off all at the same time in a perfect sphere. And what it did, it took that ball of uranium that had enough material, but it wasn't compressed, and compressed it. Boom, you got the second atomic blast. That's how a nuclear bomb works. A radiological bomb or radiological device, a dirty bomb, completely different creature. What you're basically doing is, I'm going to take dynamite or C4 or ANFO or whatever explosive. I'm going to take some radiological crap, I'm going to stick it on there and blow it up. Not an atomic explosion. But what it is a nasty contamination, and that's why they call those a dirty bomb. Because what you're doing, you're taking a bomb, and instead of just an explosion and it throws glass and cement everywhere, you're now spraying radioactive material into the air. Now, unlike an atomic bomb where you need specifically certain materials, uranium, plutonium, etc., to make an atomic reaction of that magnitude, dirty bomb, you could take anything. You could take thorium from a geology research lab. You can take iodine from a medical facility. Okay, so to create the dirty bomb, basically you're taking an explosive device, whether it's, homemade, artillery, whatever. You're taking something that will blow up, and you're taking radioactive material and sticking it in the device, so when it blows up, it spews the crap everywhere. That's a dirty bomb. Very different. You don't get a thermonuclear blast. You don't get the superheated, you don't get the blinding flash. You don't get the superheated heat wave that goes and burns skin off people and burns down buildings. You don't get that massive air blast that just goes and knocks walls down. No, you don't. You get a bomb. So whatever's in the vicinity of the bomb will, get damaged. It's going to have a blast radius of its own, but not a city-sized atomic blast radius. It's going to be like an IED, a massive IED. So you're going to have very localized things. So for instance, you take a 2-kiloton bomb, atomic bomb, set it off in Times Square, you're going to make an area in New York City that no one's going to walk into for about, 5, 6, 7 blocks for a couple of hundred years. You take a dirty bomb and blow it up in Times Square, you might get a few blocks in each direction. The buildings aren't going to come down, right? People are not going to spontaneously catch fire unless they're close enough to the bomb blast. But what it's going to do is send radioactive garbage everywhere. Now, where's the biggest threat aside from the bomb itself is the fallout. So what is fallout? Fallout is radioactive particles that are in the air. So think of 9/11. When 9/11 happened, the building came down. and you had this dust and smoke that went everywhere. A lot of our first responders, cops, firefighters, EMTs wound up dying years later because of the garbage they inhaled. So that's the kind of powder dust material that you might be seeing in a dirty bomb incident. It'll look like a car bomb. Boom. It goes off. People in the immediate area, they're going to get hurt or killed. But now all that dirt and dust and the cloud that comes from it is radioactive. You following me? There's a different problem. So unlike a nuke would go and then there's no building there anymore because they're all vaporized. What you've done is you've blown up, you blew out all the windows, now you've made this big cloud of dust, sheetrock, dirt, cement powder, whatever else got affected by the blast. It's going to go up into the air and it's going to go everywhere. And that's a problem because now you've got radioactive stuff everywhere. Now, if it gets sucked into a subway tunnel, any of you rode the New York City subways? I have. The trains go through and it has this air sucking effect, right? It creates this vacuum or this pressure wave. So if the bomb goes off, the dust goes in the subway and that train goes to the next station, it's going to suck that dust up the subway tunnels. And it's going to go everywhere underground. It's going to go into building ventilations. It's going to go into, the dust is going to fall on people. So again, going to 9/11, remember the people walking away from the collapse? They're covered in sheetrock and they were in shock. Well, imagine if all that dust was radioactive. Now you're locked on Manhattan Island for 24, 48, 72 hours because they're going to lock the city down, I promise you. And it's going to be a hard lockdown. You thought 9/11 was bad, watch a dirty bomb go off. They'll shut the country down and then they'll shut half of North America down. But if that happens, that's going to be a major threat. So besides the bomb, you're going to have that residual. So I hope that makes some sense between what the difference is between an atomic weapon, a nuclear bomb, and a dirty bomb. So what do? Let's talk about the dirty bomb, because that, from the verbiage and the way they were speaking in the New York City emergency management video, it sounds more like talking about a dirty bomb than a nuke. So, and I think Jason and Mike kind of agreed with me because I heard them say similar. So let's look at that for a second. Okay, so dirty bomb goes off. Whether you're in Manhattan, and again, they're going to pick a high-profile target, which is typical. It doesn't matter. Wherever it goes off, boof. Let's use Times Square again. Boof, it goes off in Times Square. That intersection in Times Square, you're going to have a bomb, right? People will get hurt, they'll get burned, explosion, stuff will go flying. It's going to be like a car bomb, an IED. Now you have this radioactive crap is going to go up in the air and it's going to start to spread. Now, New York City, most major cities have radiological detection devices spread out throughout the city. So it's going to be pretty quick. People are going to realize something has gone wrong. What if you're there? If you're not immediately hurt by the explosion, the blast, the flying glass, flying cement, whatever it is, and you get dust on you, you're now going to be contaminated. So again, going to 9/11, they were covered in dust. If that stuff's radioactive, you're going to be inhaling it. It's going to be going into your lungs. It's going to go into your mouth. It's going to get on your clothing, get in your ears, all that stuff, get in your eyes. You need to get rid of it. Now, these are not particles, small particles like the Rona, which is a microscopic virus. We're talking about stuff that's sheetrock, cement powder. This is visible stuff. So in these cases, a good dust mask or an N95 or a respirator will actually help you a lot, because you won't be taking in as many of those particles into your lungs where they can do damage later on. But if you get it on you, let's say you're out there, you don't have a mask, you just went to lunch and boof, something happened. There are a few things you need to do. One, get the hell away from it. Okay, so the equation to calculate the dose of radiation I'm receiving, it's a fraction, right? It has variables on top and numbers on the bottom. The number on the bottom includes R squared. R is the radius from you to the danger, right? So if the bomb goes off 2 miles away and you move to 4 miles away, the way the equation works is your exposure is now 1/4 of what it would have been had you stayed at 2 miles away. So you kind of following me here? So for every doubling of your distance, you quarter or make 1/4 of the exposure. So you want to, the easiest thing to do is get as far away as you can, as fast as you can. Now, if you've been contaminated, as soon as you get a safe distance or you take shelter, you need to you need to get rid of your clothes. You need to wash your face, wash your hands. Any clothes that are contaminated, come off. Don't burn them, because now you've just created radioactive smoke in the burn pit. Don't do that. Get rid of it, throw it away, and put fresh clothes on. If you can take a shower, or if you have a Silcock key and you can open it by a building and get the dust off of you, at the very least, if there's nowhere to change or you can't change, if you can at least get to some water that's not contaminated, and usually from the pipes you should be okay, and clean your face, get it away from your eyes, your mouth, your nose, your ears, and get it off your hands, that's a good start. As soon as you get to a safe place, lose the shirt. Now, if you happen to be in your vehicle, I actually keep rain gear in my vehicle. The rain gear will come in really handy, because if I have rain gear on me and I get hit with powder, I have an N95 mask or a respirator, I have goggles, and I get hit, the dust is going to stay on the outside. I'm still being exposed to radiation, but it's not on my skin, it's not going through my pores, it's not going in my mouth or in my nose. So again, make some distance, and anything you can use that will allow you to get the dust and debris off of you as quickly as possible is definitely life-saving advice. It'll get you less contamination. Now, keep in mind, if you're in the blast radius, you're probably going to be hurt. You're going to have open wounds. The debris will go into your wounds, so you could get exposure. But again, the basics of radiation safety involve time, distance, and shielding. And of the three of them, the way the equation works, again, it's a fraction. Distance is a squared number in the denominator. It's in the bottom of the equation. So every time you double the distance, you make the exposure 1/4 of what it would have been. Following me? I know there's a lot of math in my brain's on overdrive with this, but you guys kind of get what I'm saying. The faster you get away, your exposure drops phenomenally. Now, you may not be able to get away. Things are shut down, something's on fire, building collapses. Now you go to the other two, time and shielding. Again, if you distance, you're running away, your time is reducing also, right? Because you're running the hell away. But if you can't, hunker down, hide somewhere, try to avoid the dust and the blast. As soon as things start to settle, get the hell out of Dodge. In which case you're using shielding and time as your friends. Now remember, it takes quite a bit of concrete or lead to stop gamma and other radioactive particles from hitting your body. So based on the science, and we've used it in the field, distance is your friend. The further you are from the hurt, the better you're going to be. So guys, I hope this video helped. Again, this was simply meant to give you some fundamentals. I got a little mathy on this one, but I'm seeing a lot of people freak out. Not necessary. I mean, it's something to be concerned about. It's always a possibility. Iran is still refining uranium, and we have other players in the world who really don't like us, would love to hurt us. That's one of the ways they can. But keep in mind that exposure, that contamination, if you can get away from the source and then remove the dust and particles, rinse out your mouth, wash your eyes out, whatever it is, get the particles off of you as quickly as you can, you stand a distinct chance of not getting radiation poisoning over time. The people who don't take the showers, don't change their clothes, or don't put like rain gear on to keep the dust off of them, and they start inhaling the stuff, they're going to wind up with problems. So guys, I hope this was interesting, and I hope this was useful. And again, that's your plan of action, is get the hell away from it as quickly as you can. And as always, do your homework. Watch the news, call people locally. So if I'm traveling to New York City, I promise you I'm going to be calling Jason or Mike and be like, hey, did anyone blow up anything today? I mean, that's all kidding aside. But I want to know what the situation on the ground is. If there's a lot of instability, it could be dangerous. And again, this kind of radiological attack is probably not going to have a hell of a lot of warning. So guys, there's your game plan, and that's some of the very basic science behind radiological attacks. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, throw them in the comments below. Other than that, thanks for joining me. God bless, Godspeed, and stay frosty. I will see you on the next one.